Yup, you read that title right, Caterpie. I'm a madman for trying this, but hey, I'll give it my best shot. How hard could it possibly be? I'll start right off and inform you all that this is not my typical Pokemon challenge run. No, this is far more cursed. Anyways, we should cover the rules before I get too ahead of myself. Rule number 1, no glitches, hacks, or cheats. I do, however, use speed up, otherwise these videos would take far longer to produce and I'd rather produce them quickly. Rule number 2, I can only use one Pokemon in battle. However, because I am not cheating, I do need to use HM Pokemon for travel purposes only. And lastly, rule number 3, no items in battle. This does not include held items, as I will be using the Everstone as my default starter item from this point forward. With all of that out of the way, let's begin. Considering how awful this run is going to be, I actually soft reset for a particular Caterpie this time around. The particular Caterpie that we're looking for is an Adamant Nature Caterpie, reason being that we want increased physical attack and decreased special attack. The reason we want this is because Caterpie is capable of learning only 2 moves, only one of which is an attacking move, Tackle and String Shot. There is a secret third move, but we'll touch on that later. As for how we're getting our Caterpie, I replaced Bulbasaur for this run so that our rival would take Charmander. We want him to take Charmander for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, Charmander offers 1 speed EV and is the only starter from Kanto that offers either speed or attack EVs. Reason number 2, the Charmander line has the least defense out of all of the starter lines. And reason number 3, Charizard, during the champion fight, learns Fire Blast, which has a higher chance to miss than anything Venusaur or Blastoise knows. I know that this has been a lot of me rambling to start the video off with, but I hope that you can see how much thought went into this run in particular. Anyways, enough of me explaining stuff, let's get into our first rival fight. With our Adamant Nature Caterpie, we're actually able to hold our own in this otherwise doomed fight. This fight is fairly straightforward, with Caterpie landing Tackle, with Charmander using Growl, and then Caterpie getting a crit on the next turn. From there on, it's just Scratch and Tackle trades until we knock out Charmander. This is where things get a bit more complicated though. In order for us to have the best Caterpie that we can have, we'll have to EV train appropriately. We're looking to EV train for both attack and speed, and fortunately for us, those are both available before our second rival fight. Mankey offers 1 attack EV per knockout, and Pidgey offers 1 speed EV per knockout. Unfortunately, we'll need to knock out 252 of each of them before our second rival fight in order to completely max out our EVs for the rest of the run. Skipping past all of that grinding, we're at our next rival fight. Our Caterpie is now level 24, and so we're able to get through this fight somewhat smoothly, taking out Pidgey with 1 tackle. Next up is Charmander, who we also tackle for the one Oh my god, this is going to be a challenge, alright. We get to Pewter City after facing off with all the trainers in Viridian Forest. We head over to Brock, who specializes in very defensive Rock-type Pokemon. It is at this time that we must employ the use of our secret third move, Struggle. See, Struggle hits neutral on all types and has a higher base power than Tackle. Setting this up is annoying because of String Shot, which we'll deal with later. Anyways, Brock leads with Geodude, who we take out with a crit Struggle. Onix is up next, who we hit with another Struggle, doing about a quarter health as it hits us with a Rock Tomb. However, as you may notice, Caterpie doesn't lose speed on account of Shield Dust, which is invaluable. After a few more Struggle, Onix falls and we earned ourselves the Boulder Badge. We then head over to Mount Moon and recover our Lord and Savior Helix from the clutches of an evil scientist before heading on to Cerulean City. Upon arriving at Cerulean City, we quickly learned that Misty had some pretty defensive Pokemon, so we had to grind a bit to avoid recover spam from Staryu. Misty leads with Staryu, who we knock out with a single Struggle. Starmie is up next, who we hit with Struggle for a bit less than half, while it hits us with a Water Pulse for a bit more than half. On the second turn, though, we get a very lucky crit, earning ourselves the Cascade Badge. Having taken care of Misty, we head north towards Nugget Bridge, more on that later, to take on our next rival fight. Our rival leads with Pidgeotto, who we almost one-shot with Struggle, but it sand attacks us instead. Next turn, we take it down, and then Charmander is sent out. With Charmander, we get a crit and take it down instantly. Abra is up next, who we also take out instantly, and last up is Rattata, who we try to struggle, but we miss. Next turn, Rattata lands a quick attack, and we miss again. The turn after that, it lands another quick attack, and we finally land our struggle, knocking it out. After this fight, I realized that because we wouldn't have easy access to Kanto's healthcare for all, on account of needing our moves to be perpetually drained of power, we'd need a small loan of a few $100,000. Fortunately for us, FireRed and Leaf Green introduces a feature where you can repeatedly lose against the last trainer of Nugget Bridge and make incredible stonks. See, the trainer at the end of the bridge is actually a Team Rocket member who is trying to entice trainers into joining Team Rocket by giving them a nugget as a prize for when they defeat all of the trainers on the bridge. However, he does this each time you talk to him, so if you lose and go back to face him, he'll give you another nugget. This is 100% a feature and not a cheat. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Anyways, about 50 battles later, and we're up 50 nuggets and roughly $300,000. We should be set on funds for the rest of the run. After procuring wealth and helping out Bill, we head down to Vermilion City and challenge our rival on board the SS Anne. Our rival leads with Pidgeotto, who we one-shot with Struggle. Charmeleon is up next, who we hit with Struggle for big damage while it uses Growl. We take it out on the next turn, and Raticate is sent out next. We struggle and do another huge chunk of damage before taking it out on the next turn. Last up is Kadabra, who we obliterate with a single struggle. With the SS Anne sailing away, we decide to take on Surge since we're in the area and his Pokemon aren't particularly defensive. Surge leads with Voltorb, who we outspeed and take out with Struggle. Next up is Pikachu, who we also outspeed in one-shot. Raichu is the next Pokemon to face us, who manages to survive a struggle and uses Double Team. On the next turn, Surge Super Potions and we miss a struggle. The turn after, we land a struggle while Raichu uses Double Team again. One more turn later and we take down Raichu with one last struggle, earning ourselves the Thunder Badge. Our next hurdle actually isn't a gym leader at all, but is effectively a second Brock. His name is Hiker Dudley, and he guards the depths of the rock tunnel. Hiker Dudley uses 2 Geodude and a Graveler, all of which are hyper defensive. It took us a bit of grinding to finally get past him, and because it's the first time I've repeatedly struggled with an NPC, I figured I'd add him as an honorable mention. Erica has some very strong defensive Pokemon, so instead we opt to take on Giovanni. Giovanni leads with Onix, who we struggle for about half while it hits us with Rage. On the next turn we get a crit and take it down. Up next is Rhyhorn, who we hit with Struggle for about half while it uses Scary Face to lower our speed. Next turn we take it down with another Struggle, and then Kangaskhan comes out. It hits us with Fake Out, but Shield Dust prevents the flinch, so we hit with Struggle for about a third. On the next turn, Kangaskhan uses Tail Whip, while we again use Struggle. Kangaskhan then uses Bite, and we clap back with Struggle, finally taking down Kangaskhan. We take the Self Scope and head back to Lavender Town to take on our rival. He leads with Pidgeotto, who lands a Sand Attack after we land a Struggle. Next turn, we take it down with another Struggle. Charmeleon is up next, who we hit with Struggle before it lands a Smoke Screen on us. Next turn, we take it down with a Struggle. Execute is up next, who we hit with Struggle before it misses Hypnosis. After that, we take down Execute with another Struggle. Kadabra is up next, who we easily one-shot with Struggle. Last up is Gyarados, who has Intimidate and lowers our attack before we miss a Struggle and it hits us with Thrash. Fortunately, on the next turn, we're able to get a crit Struggle and one-shot the Gyarados. Erica is up next, as we got super stuck with Koga and had to double back. Erica leads with Victreebel, who we crit with Struggle for the one-shot. Tangela is up next, who we also crit for the one-shot. And last up is Vileplume, who we almost one-shot, but just miss while it hits us with Stun Spore. Next turn, Erica uses a Hyper Potion, and we're paralyzed. On the turn after, we somehow manage to outspeed even while being paralyzed and do a huge chunk of damage with Struggle. Vileplume lands Acid, and then on the following turn, we finally take it down with another Struggle, earning ourselves the Rainbow Badge. As we enter into our fight with Koga, you should know that he was a roadblock for a very considerable portion of time. We had to grind nearly 30 levels just for this fight. Absolute pain. Anyways, Koga leads with Coughing, who we outspeed and knock out with Struggle. Muck is up next, who we hit with Struggle for about 2/3 while Muck minimizes. Muck lands a Sludge after we miss a Struggle, but we take it out on the next turn. Another Coughing is up next, who we again one-shot with Struggle. Wheezing is our last foe, who we hit with Struggle, doing half. It then lands a sludge, and on the next turn, we take it down with struggle, earning ourselves the Soul Badge. So, this is where the run deviates a bit more than my usual runs, and where some of you may choose to believe that the run has failed. But there will be another point for that, so hold your judgment for now. Simply put, Blaine and the rival fight in Sylph were walling us hard, and while we could get past Blaine with enough attempts, our rival fight was actually impossible without held items. So, I decided that we would grab the leftovers held item to ensure that we could offset some of the struggle recoil damage. However, in order to get the leftovers, we need the item finder, which you can only get if you've caught 30 Pokemon. So as a result of needing more Pokemon, we spent a bit of time in the Safari Zone. A few of my more notable catches in the Safari Zone were a Scyther, a Dragonair, and a Kangaskhan. After catching our 30 Pokemon, getting the item finder, and then finally acquiring the leftovers, we are ready to take on our next rival fight. Our rival leads with Pidgeot, who we're able to one-shot now that we're level 100. Next up is Charizard, who we're able to outspeed and land big damage with Struggle while it uses a Scary Face. We take it down in the next turn with a crit Struggle. Up next is Execute, who we almost one-shot, but not quite, while it lands a Stun Spore. On the next turn, Execute lands Confusion, but we take it out on the next turn. Up next is Alakazam, who uses Future Sight while we're paralyzed. Next turn, Alakazam uses Calm Mind while we land a Struggle, one-shotting it. Last up is Gyarados, who lowers our attack with Intimidate, and outspeeds us and uses Bite while we're paralyzed, and then we're hit with Future Sight. Next turn, we're hit with Bite while we land another Struggle. Gyarados then uses Dragon Rage, and then we're finally able to take down the Gyarados. Our next fight is Giovanni again, who might actually pose a problem this time. He leads with Nidorino, who we're able to take down with one Struggle. Up next is Rhyhorn, who we hit with Struggle for about 3/4 damage, while Rhyhorn uses Fury Attack. On the next turn, we're able to take down Rhyhorn with another Struggle. Next up is Kangaskhan, who uses Fake Out, but fails to flinch while we land a Struggle for a bunch of damage. One more Struggle turn later and Kangaskhan falls. Last up is Nidoqueen, who we outspeed and Struggle, but we're poisoned as a result, and then Nidoqueen lands Poison Sting. One more turn later, though, and we take down Nidoqueen and kick Giovanni out of Sylph. With Giovanni gone, Sabrina is our next opponent, who should be easy since she's got defensively weak Pokemon. She leads with Kadabra, who we one-shot with Struggle. Venomoth is up next, who we also one-shot. Mr. Mime is after that, who we also one-shot. And last up is Alakazam, who we also take out with a single Struggle, earning ourselves the Marsh Badge. With everything in Saffron City taken care of, we fly back to Cinnabar to take on Blaine. Now, I did touch on this earlier, but the leftovers really were not needed for Blaine or for Sabrina, only the rival fight and maybe Giovanni. Anyways, you'll see what I mean here. We can tank at least one Fire Blast, but we're banking on them not hitting at all. Blaine leads with Growlithe, who immediately lowers our attack stat, but we crit one shot anyways. Ponyta is up next, who we almost one-shot, but not quite, while it misses a Fire Blast. Blaine Hyper Potions, but it doesn't matter since another Struggle takes it all the way down. On the next turn, Blaine again Hyper Potions, and again we struggle, taking its health back down. One more turn later, and we finally take down Ponyta. Up next is Rapidash, who we strike with Struggle as it misses Fire Blast. On the next turn, we land another Struggle and take down Rapidash. Last up is Arcanine, who once again lowers our attack with Intimidate. We do land a Struggle, doing about a third damage as it misses a Fire Blast. Next turn, we do another third of damage while Arcanine misses another Fire Blast. That's 4 missed in one battle. We then land another Struggle, and Arcanine misses another Fire Blast, meaning that we've dodged 5 in this entire battle. We take it down with one more Struggle and earn the Volcano Badge. Man, that was a hot battle. We fly back to Viridian City, where we can begin our last gym battle against Giovanni, who honestly may pose a challenge during this run because he's got some fairly tanky Pokemon. Giovanni leads with Rhyhorn, who we hit with Struggle for about half, while Rhyhorn uses Scary Face to slow us down. On the next turn, we land another Struggle and take down Rhyhorn. Another Rhyhorn is up next, who we hit with Struggle, doing half to this Rhyhorn while it misses Takedown. We then land another Struggle, this time being a crit. Dugtrio is up next, who outspeeds us and hits us with Slash as we strike back with Struggle, knocking it out. Nidoqueen is up next, who we struggle for about 2/3 while it lands a Body Slam. On the next turn, we hit with Struggle for the knockout, but we're poisoned by Poison Point as a result. Nidoking is up next, who we hit with Struggle for a big chunk of damage while it hits us with Thrash. On the next turn, we struggle Nidoking and finally take down Giovanni once and for all, earning ourselves the Earth Badge. Remember that part of the video where I asked you to hold your judgment on when you felt the run failed? Well, here we are. There is absolutely no way that we can pass our next rival fight without the use of items in battle beyond held items. Even with a crit struggle, we cannot one-shot the Charizard, and during this fight, the only attacking moves the Charizard knows all have 100% accuracy, so there's no chance to dodge any of them. Sadly, I decided to use X items in battle rather than just ending the video here. With our items purchased, we head back to our rival fight ready to battle. Our rival leads with Pidgeot, who we struggle for half health as it hits us with a wing attack. Next turn, we're able to take Pidgeot down with a crit struggle. The next Pokemon is Rhyhorn, and here is where we start buffing ourselves. Rhyhorn doesn't have any moves that are particularly dangerous for us, and so for this reason, we're able to stall for long enough to fully max out our attack stat as well as throwing a dire hit on for crit chance increase. When we're finally ready to fight, we take down Rhyhorn with a struggle. Charizard is up next, who we take out with a single crit struggle. After Charizard is Execute, who we're also able to one-shot. After Execute is Alakazam, who isn't much better off than Execute, also going down to a single struggle. And lastly is Gyarados, who lowers our attack with Intimidate, but nevertheless falls to a single struggle. Going into Lorelei, I'm quite concerned given how tough she was in the Squirtle run. She's got some pretty tanky water types mixed into her team, so we'll see how she fares. Lorelei leads with Dewgong, who has some rather powerful attacks, so we won't be setting up on it. Instead, we decide to struggle immediately, doing roughly a third damage while Dewgong sets up Safeguard. Next turn, we struggle again, doing a bit more this time while Dewgong surfs. Next up, Lorelei uses a full restore while we struggle again, doing about a third again. We heal up and tank another surf, then using struggle on the next turn to lower Dewgong a bit while it sets up Hail. On the next turn, we struggle one more time to finally take out Dewgong. Cloyster is up next, and this is who we're going to be setting up on. Cloyster doesn't really want to attack. It likes to set up spikes, hail, and then protect stall. The issue with this is that we have leftovers, which negates the hail damage, so Cloyster isn't doing any damage to us at all while we set up all of our X items for the rest of the fight. After we finish setting up, we struggle and take down Cloyster with ease. Next up is Slowbro, who we're able to one-shot with struggle. After Slowbro is Lapras, who I'm a bit worried about. However, we get lucky and land a crit struggle, which happened to just be enough to take out the Lapras with one hit. Lastly is Jinx, who we're able to take out with another crit, no problem. Bruno is the next Elite Four member, and I'm slightly nervous about him because he's got 2 Onix on his team that may be an issue to overcome. We decide to set up on the first Onix, which continues trying to use Rock Tomb to slow us down while we set up. But since we have Shield Dust as our ability, our speed is never lowered. We finally finish setting up and go for a struggle, taking it out in one shot. Next up is Hitmonchan, who we hit with struggle and one shot. Machamp comes out next, and fortunately we're able to one-shot Bruno's ace as well. Hitmonlee is up next, who fares about as well as Hitmonchan did. Bruno's last Pokemon is another Onix, which we're able to take out easily as we did the first. Not as bad as I thought. Agatha is up next, and fortunately Struggle isn't considered a normal type attack, so we're able to actually hit her team. She leads with Gengar, and we struggle for about half on Gengar, who uses Double Team. One turn later, and Gengar falls to another struggle. Golbat is sent out next, who we struggle for about a third while it uses Confuse Ray on us, which could be absolutely devastating. Fortunately, we get through the confusion without issue and land another struggle, while Golbat hits us with a crit Air Cutter, almost knocking us out. Agatha then uses a full restore, but we risk it all and go for another struggle, which manages to hit. We heal up on the next turn while Golbat uses Air Cutter again, this time not getting a crit. We go for another struggle and once again pull through the confusion, but we're hit with another Air Cutter. We have to heal up again while Golbat uses Poison Fang. Finally, we snap out of the confusion without hitting ourselves a single time and take down Golbat. Arbok is up next, who we struggle for a quarter damage while it uses Sludge Bomb. We go for another struggle and take it down with a crit on the next turn. Gengar is the next Pokemon that we're up against, who we struggle for about a quarter while it lands a Shadow Ball on us. Next turn, we're forced to heal up again as it uses another Shadow Ball. On the next turn, we use a Dire Hit to boost our crit ratio as Gengar misses a Hypnosis. After that, we land another Struggle while Gengar uses a Sludge Bomb and procs a Citrus Berry. We use an X attack after that, but Gengar puts us to sleep with Hypnosis. We decide to use a full restore so that Gengar doesn't beat us up too badly, and Gengar uses a Sludge Bomb. We land a Struggle on the next turn while it uses another Sludge Bomb, and on the following turn we take it down with another Struggle. Haunter is the last of Agatha's Pokemon, and we're able to one-shot it with Struggle. Lance is the last of our Elite Four battles, and he leads with a Gyarados that immediately lowers our attack stat. We decide to fully raise our stats on Gyarados for a few reasons, but mainly because it doesn't know anything that is too scary for us to tank. It focuses on using Dragon Rage while we boost our stats. However, it does try to Hyper Beam us a few times. After we finish raising our stats, we take down Gyarados with a single Struggle. Aerodactyl is up next, who we're able to outspeed surprisingly, and knock it out with one Struggle. Dragonite is then next, who we're able to also one-shot thanks to a very lucky crit. Dragonair is after Dragonite, who we're able to one-shot, and lastly, another Dragonair is up, who is yet another one-shot with Struggle. Lance wasn't too bad since his opening Pokemon was able to easily be stalled and set up on. This last fight was giga cringe, and that is the only way to say this. Usually, if Pidgeot uses Feather Dance or Sand Attack, I just reset, but I spent so long here that at a certain point I just started blitzing through the encounters until we brute forced our way through Pidgeot with struggles. Eventually we get through, and out comes Rhydon. Rhydon is my favorite to set up on since it doesn't know anything too outrageously scary like Pidgeot or Charizard, but Rhydon does have access to Rock Tomb, which is quite the ordeal. We had to heal stall until it was out of Rock Tombs, which was a bit scummy, but it was the only method I could use in the situation. It begins to use Earthquake after using a few Rock Tombs, which does a bit less damage. Fortunately, we were able to get through Rhydon, but not before it super duper lowers our attack speed of Scary Face, while we boost our attack and crit ratio. A single struggle takes down the already self-weakened Rhydon. So, Rhydon and Pidgeot were super annoying, but now we're max stats in the Charizard, so how annoying could this be? Oh, well, yeah, just as annoying. Now that we're slower than Charizard, all it has to do is land a single Fire Blast. Getting through Charizard was insanely annoying, and we had to reset several times until we got lucky enough to take it down with a single struggle. Next up is Alakazam, who unfortunately hits just as hard as Rhydon and Pidgeot were hitting. We have to heal stall for a considerable period of time, waiting for it to run out of Psychic and just hoping that it doesn't crit in the meantime. Eventually, Alakazam uses Future Sight instead of Psychic, and that's when we make our move. Alakazam uses Psychic since it's faster, but we land a crit struggle and manage to take it down in one shot. Exeggutor is up next, but we're still worried about the Future Sight, so we make sure to heal up while Exeggutor uses Egg Bomb. We take the Future Sight attack at the end of the turn, which almost knocks us out. We heal up again while Exeggutor uses Egg Bomb, and then just as we're ready to use Struggle, Exeggutor Sleep Powders us. We decide to use a spare Awakening that we've had, and we get lucky with Exeggutor missing an Egg Bomb. We then go for a Struggle while Exeggutor uses Egg Bomb, but we miss this time. On the next turn, it uses Sleep Powder again, but we decide to try for a Struggle. Exeggutor lands an Egg Bomb, but we get super lucky with a one-turn sleep and one shot with Struggle. The last Pokemon of the run is Gyarados, who lowers our attack with Intimidate. We Hyper Potion to ensure that it doesn't knock us out, but Gyarados uses Thrash, taking our health down by half. We then use an extra X attack to boost our stats back to normal, while Gyarados almost knocks us out with another Thrash. We then heal up while Gyarados uses Thrash again for half of our health, but this time it confuses itself. We decide to go for a Struggle, and Gyarados hits itself, which in combination with our Struggle, finally takes down our rival for the last time, making us the Kanto Pokemon Champion. And finally, after all of that, we've beaten Pokemon FireRed with only a Caterpie. Honestly, this run went exactly as I expected it. I know that this challenge may be tainted by the use of items in battle, and I myself consider this run an impossible challenge with the stated rules at the beginning, but I'm still happy that we were able to in fact beat the game with only a single Caterpie. We just needed to give it a bit of help. Our final time at the end of the run ended up being 75 hours and 11 minutes, which is almost all three of our Kanto starter runs combined. I'm more surprised with how far we were able to get into the game without the use of items. Like I said before, we were able to defeat every gym leader without the use of held items or other items in battle. We technically did use held items during our fights with Blaine, Sabrina, and Giovanni. However, had our rival not stonewalled us so hard in the Silphco fight, we would have never needed to grab the leftovers. That said, I am incredibly surprised at just how difficult the rival is in these games. It is actually very cool to have a rivalry with such a capable trainer in these games, as opposed to more recent titles. Anyways, I stream this run over on Twitch, which I plan on doing weekly. Also, if you liked this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, as it would help me out a lot. If you are interested in coming and hanging out, feel free to follow the link below to either my Twitch, my Twitter, or my Discord. This has been Shro, and thank you for watching.